Joining us now, trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. He has the benefit, his legal team does, of watching Lori Vallow's trial play out. How might that impact their strategy in this trial?
Yeah, he certainly does have that benefit because much of the evidence is going to overlap in what we saw in Lori Vallow's trial. And because of that, there's going to be the ability to tailor their defense arguments and potentially even try and shift some of the blame and accountability onto Lori Vallow. Now, we had been waiting, Marni, right from the beginning. Would one of them perhaps turn on the other? Could that be part of a defense strategy? There was some indication that that might be the case in some pretrial filings where Chad Daybell had said that he was kind of the follower to his wife, very opposite of what we had expected to see. But they certainly do have a benefit seeing how her trial played out and to tailor some of their defense arguments appropriately.
Could she be called as a witness in his trial?
She couldn't be, because keep in mind that she still has an appeal. So if she were to be called as a witness, that would violate her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. So it would be almost impossible for that to actually happen, practically speaking.
How about Chad Daybell? Do you expect that he would take the stand in his own defense?
You know, I mean, it's hard to tell at this point from a defense perspective. That's always a game time decision. But here's what I would say to that. Bad idea, just based on everything that we've seen. Remember that areas of inquiry open up when a defendant takes the stand, and just thinking about, oh, Marni, think about all of the writings that he has and all of the issues outside of just what's being addressed in this trial, the tangled web of Chad Daybell. I think it would be a mistake, because a lot of that could come into the courtroom that might not necessarily make its way to the ears of the jury otherwise. So to me, it would be a big mistake. But hey, as the trial plays out, there could be a strategy call that's different.
Lori Vallow, the death penalty she did not receive, but it is still a possibility for Chad Daybell. Why and how is this case different?
So with Lori Daybell, it all related to specific filings about whether or not there was going to be a speedy trial. And so with respect to the timeline of legal filings, with her, the death penalty was taken off the table. That's really a procedural issue. With Chad Daybell, it's a different case. He could, in fact, get the death penalty. Now, in doing so, though, he does have his trial going second. So to your point, Marni, there's a benefit to being the second to go, because you do get to see what worked and potentially did not work in the first trial.
There was a lot of chatter about her mental competency when she stood trial. Is the same thing true for him?
He has not had the same legal challenges as far as competency. And Marni, that's going to be a central part of her appellate case for Lori Vallow, because she was found incompetent to stand trial. And that means that she was not aware of the nature and the consequences of the charges against her and could not participate in her own defense. Keep in mind, that's different than a claim of insanity, which was never raised. It's whether or not she was competent. She was put into a facility, her condition improved, and then she was able to stand trial according to the court. Now, her defense lawyers on appeal are going to challenge whether or not that was actually that she was actually competent when she got into the courtroom. That's one issue. With Chad Daybell, we did not see the same type of competency arguments being raised. So at this point, that has not been an issue for him going into trial.
Finally, Misty, how damning are these text messages? We shared one just a moment ago between Chad and Lori leading up to the kids' deaths.
This is just such a difficult case from the defense. And Marni, we watched the first trial and just the horrors of how the two kids were found. And it was just really something that tugged at the heartstrings of anybody who was watching. It was such a horrific case. These text messages are very, very damaging. And that's mostly because of the timing of them. And think about everything that led up to this case, the couple leaving the state, coming back to the state, being on the run. There's so much, and it's such a complicated case. Text messages like this are certainly very, very damaging to the defense.
Yeah, I think about JJ and some of the testimony from those investigating these horrific murders found in his pajamas, his red pajamas wrapped up and buried. Misty, it is horrible. We'll see where this case goes. Jury selection again beginning today. Thank you as always.